So we know there's a lot of moving pieces, and sometimes you might feel that they are not connected, but we really believe that everything that is inside of you is connected. Even if it's a nonprofit with selling a product, maybe opening a website, it could be, you know, so many different different opportunities and different types of businesses, but they can all connect. And I mean, one of those examples, and it might sound funny, but one of those examples could be the ex-president of the United States, Donald Trump, right? Former President Donald Trump. All of you have heard about Donald Trump and now about how he started in his career, and he had so many different types of businesses. So within those types of businesses, he had malls, he had nonprofit organizations, he had hotels, he just had a little bit of everything, right? But he was able to connect all of those different services and businesses that he had, and just be able to come up, like build the wealth that he has right now. So do not dismiss any idea that you have, because every big idea starts where? As a small idea, right? So we do want you to think about, okay, so here is Alec. I want everyone to see Alec. Alec is Shirley's son, and it is exciting because he is the youngest participant. He just turned 12 years old a couple of weeks ago, maybe like a week ago. So Alec, welcome to our session. And we do believe that you should start early. So like we were saying, do not dismiss any of your ideas, right? Every idea that you have, because at some point those ideas will interconnect with each other. So we do want to give you the opportunity today to ask questions, because we know that we gave you a lot of work between session 2 and session 3. And then it was like, well, what do I do now? I have, you know, some of you were asking about, well, we had the presentation, we had the demos, but how do we really start writing them, or where should I start? So we want to give you the opportunity, if you want, to either ask us a question through the chat, or just free open and, you know, unmute yourself and ask your question, because your question might be someone else's questioning within this group. And as you know, we are sharing these Zoom links through a YouTube, where, you know, we're downloading or uploading into a YouTube channel this meeting, so other people that were not able to join today, they can listen to this recording later on. So that's one of the things that we want to talk about. And another thing that we are going to be talking about today is, Chad, you want to share?
Yeah, so another thing we're going to go over, since it is the end of the year, it's time to start preparing like for tax season, which that's not a fun topic for a lot of people. But we just want to give you some ideas to plan for it, because the reality is that all of us, you know, wherever we are, we're going to pay taxes. So we need to plan for that to happen, but we need to also plan for us to pay as little taxes as possible, which is not hard to do if you plan. But if we don't plan it, you're going to pay the most amount, and that's really the tax law was written for people to take advantage of the tax law. That's why there's so many loopholes. You always hear about people that are rich never pay taxes. This is always the biggest thing that everybody's always talking about, like the rich don't pay taxes, it's not fair. But the reality is the tax law was created for people to do for the government to incentivize us to do certain things, like, for instance, incentivize us to provide low-income housing for people. So it gives us tax breaks through real estate, right? Because the government knows they cannot house all the people that need housing in the United States. It's impossible. So the way they take care of that is incentivize us citizens to provide housing you know, and then they give us tax breaks where we're almost paying zero taxes when we invest in real estate. It's the same thing with like oil and gas. Believe it or not, oil and gas, like incentives to invest in like oil fields and fracking businesses and oil exploration businesses has almost identical tax incentives as owning real estate. It's almost tax exempt. Now that's contrary to what a lot of everybody knows, because you think, oh, the government doesn't like oil, they're always trying to tax it. You hear everything in Washington about like they're trying to go to green energy, but reality is oil, the whole world runs on oil. So as much as we hear in the news about green energy and, you know, gas is going away, it's not going away. Matter of fact, they're encouraging us to invest in oil, in different oil fields and things like that, because they need people to continue to grow that industry. So we're more or less reliant on other nations. So those are a couple of things, and we'll get into that in a little bit later, different tax strategies and things. And this is to get you, just to get you guys thinking about why we need to think about this, because it's one of these things that most time we don't do it until like April 12th, when we're like, oh my goodness, I got to get this done, because that's what happens, because we don't want to deal with it, because we're either worried we're gonna have to pay, or it's a pain to get all the stuff together. And I'm sure in Canada there's something like that too that you guys have to do too. So nobody's exempt from this in any country.
And sometimes we are avoiding preparing the tax, right? The tax return. It's like, can we just wait a little bit longer? We've done that. We've done it also, right? It's like, well, why don't we wait until April? Maybe, you know, there'd be like an idea on how to reduce our tax liability. We don't want to pay so much money to the government, right? So there's people that, you know, there's sometimes this thought that we don't want to make more money, even because if we make more money, we have to pay more taxes, and we don't want to do that. So sometimes, because of the way that we grow up or what we've learned since we were very young, we avoid even making more money, right? Making more money, because then I will have to pay more taxes. But it's really not about avoiding taxes or about not making more income. It's really about learning the law, like learning what taxes, what they are requiring us to submit. There's like small things. Sometimes it's like, well, if I make money as a professional service, right? So let's say that you are an accountant, or maybe you know how to provide certain service. Sometimes instead of us wanting to report that income, we decide we're not going to report it, right? Because I don't want to pay taxes on it. However, down the line, one of the things is it is important to, right, be completely transparent with the government and share everything that we're making. But also, listen, at the end, 2 years down the road, you might need that income to be there on your tax return, because it might be important for you to be able to show it to the government, so that then you can purchase a property, right? That's just a small example, like an example. So we know it's December 31st, and we are getting excited about 2023. We're writing our vision for next year, but we also know that tax season is going to start right on January 1st. So we want to be able to have a little bit of those conversations today. So first of all, we do want to allow you to ask us questions about writing the vision, the mission. Maybe it could be your strategies. Maybe you're still working on getting your ideas, and you need to, you know, see what are the next steps you should take. So if anyone would like to open up their mic, share, it could be just share your experience when you were writing your VMOs, or when you were writing your vision and your mission. Anyone, we would love to hear from a couple of you tonight, hopefully from everyone, so that then we can give some feedback and everyone can grow together.
So I got a question first. For those of you guys that were here last month when Josh was speaking about what our business would look like if we put a name to it, what the personality would be. Did any of you guys that were here, and if you weren't here, what he said basically. So if you got a small business or you're doing something that you're working on, if you were to put a name to your business, would it be the friend at the party that you invite over that you just, can't wait to be around? Or would it be the person that comes over to your house? You're like, oh my gosh, I can't stand for, if people looked at like what you're doing, are you like the annoying person? Is your business like the annoying person? Like everybody's like, oh my gosh, they're gonna start talking to me about that again. And I don't want to hear it. I don't want them asking me to join this. Or is it the person that you're like, oh, I just can't wait to see what they're doing, they're so inspiring. Did any of you guys do that? And do you come up with like, what am I? Because that was really good when you put the name to your company, your business, or your idea. What personality would you give it?
And we know that some of you have small businesses, if not all of you. So, but even what you've already been able to create or you're working on, what type of personality you think your business will have? Would it be a personality that people will be attracted to? Fun, boring? Anyone can share?
Well, everybody's quiet tonight.
Okay, I can't stand silence for too long, so I'm just
I
going to
know
blast
it.
something
I
out.
know it,
Okay,
Dawn. Thank you, Dawn.
I was waiting, trying to be patient. Okay, so you're talking about the name of the business, or are
Yeah.
you talking about?
So what last Josh was doing a teaching about, okay, if you're creating like a mission and a vision for your business,
Mhm.
it's the idea, it's kind of like the identity of your business, what people see your business, what people see your companies as providing. So that identity, he was teaching us that we need to give that a personality. So we want to make that identity of our business attractive to other people. So we don't want it to be the Karen personality where they're always like making fun, just the, oh my gosh, not her again. You wanted that personality. That's really what he's talking about, because reality, that's marketing, but we never think about it that way, because a lot of times our ideas, our companies, and the ideas that we have are so close to our heart that we think, oh, this is the greatest thing, everybody's going to love it. But when you get around other people and they don't like it, then we have to reevaluate, like, all right, I need to create a new personality for what I love, so everybody else loves it too.
Yeah,
That's what it's
well,
talking about.
I think that's kind of the process I went through trying to figure out the name of my company. How because that's a thing that can be so frustrating, even when you're driving down the road and you look at a billboard. You look at it, you see a big picture of something, but you have no idea what they're selling. So I think for me, it was like, I want in a couple of words what it is, and make it interesting in some way or uplifting. So that's how I came up with Glory Duds.
Yeah.
Because I think that it says exactly kind of Glory Duds. Well, that sounds kind of fun. What is that? And then underneath that, putting, instead of saying upcycled or whatever, I put rescued wear, artfully designed to make you shine, Glory Duds. And then with that, my purpose is to do it for God's glory. So it was Colossians 1:27, Christ in you, the hope of glory. So on all my tags, those are the things that it says. So then as far as figuring out, I'm still in the process of figuring out exactly how I want that whole, Diana's helped me trying to figure out how you come up with an actual price. And I think I have my formula down pretty darn close. And that has worked out really well. And then when I had my trunk show, or my first launch of it or whatever, it did extremely well. My husband about fell over. So, and then, but I also, the purpose was I wanted to be able to have the money go for ministry, but also to be able to take it and have a bulk of it go to something important, you know, so like half of it went to the food bank, you know, to feed people. So, I mean, and then I want to have enough so that I can start stashing, replenishing my business, and then be able to, like, when we do, if we go to Israel, you know, when they're launching Florida, when they're launching Canada, I mean, I would like to have that freedom to go because I have that extra income. So the purpose is ministry, but then there has to be a way to actually make money. But it's amazing how the people wanted to get on board with the fact that they were helping to feed hungry people too.
Yeah.
I mean, does that answer kind of
That's good.
what you were asking? Okay.
Yeah, it's to get everybody thinking about what they're doing, you know, how it affects the people that they're working with. You know, obviously, if you have people, employees, and one day, hopefully all of us have employees, you know, that are working with us and team members. So we want to make that organization feel like, hey, this is the cousin that comes over that everybody loves and can't wait to hang out with. That's really what we want our businesses and organizations, non-for-profits, all to feel like, not like it's some kind of grudgingly, I got to go help out, I don't want to do this, you know.
Right. Yeah. And I think too, and now I'm at that process of thinking about all the things I got to let go of.
That's
so
good.
that I can concentrate on the things that I need to, so I can do those things. So there's that process of really letting go of things and seeing who else I can bless that can come and do those things and help me. So
To help grow, huh?
Yeah, and delegate. It's really so we can start, and that's for all of us to start thinking about. Even me too. Even with some of the things that I'm doing, I have to like learn to let go of some of those things and just trust other people to do some of the work and take over some of the responsibilities. Because if not, I'm like almost at like full capacity for doing a lot of things. So, but until we could all learn how to delegate things away from ourselves that we don't really need to do, we just believe that we need to do it because there's nobody else that will do it. You know, there's always somebody that will do it. It's just finding the person. But that's how we scale. That's how we grow. That's how, you know, we'll evolve into bigger things, and more things will get added to us because of that.
Lucinda was sharing that the personality of her business is fun, loving, and helping. She was sharing on the chat. So that's the personality that, you know, when she sees the business that she's building right now, it's fun, loving, and helping. And we can attest to that as well. We can definitely attest to that. So is there anyone else that would like to share about, you know, were you able to write your vision, your mission? Were you able to come up with some of the objectives? Anything else that you would like to ask? Maddie or Lucinda, anyone? Grace, you're welcome to ask any questions. Because I do know that many of you were, you know, were trying to even getting the words, right? It's like, how do I even call it? Or what is really that we are wanting to do? So if anyone would like to share, you're open, you're okay to open your line and share. Grace, you want to ask anything? You go ahead.
I don't know what I'm like I don't know what my next step is, I suppose.
That's
I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know how to present what I'm doing. I don't know what to call it.
That's good. That's reality. That's exactly. So I think, Grace, it might be good even to go back to the videos that we just sent today. And even if you have to watch them more than one time, it'll be good to do that. So, because basically when we are in that moment, right? When it's like, where do I even start? What I say is start by just writing words, but without organizing them, without overthinking them. Just start by taking a paper, a notebook, and in my case, I know you like writing. Write different words that describe the things that you're passionate about or the things that you want to do. So it could be, for example, Dawn, right? She likes sewing. She's very creative. She's a painter. This is me, right? By what I know, a little bit sharing about Dawn, right? On my case, if in our case, it was like, well, we want to help people. We love administration. We know accounting. We want to entrepreneur. So just write down every word that comes into your mind about your future. But we're not just saying, well, write it, short term or long term. We're not using those terminology yet because we really don't want to yet put a time limit or rush you into doing something. It's not about doing something in 1 year or 3 years or 5. At some point, yes, we can get to that. But at this point, it's really getting all of those ideas into a document, write it, because we do believe that when you write it down, there's like something that happens inside of us, of our mind. It helps us focus, be determined. So then when you start struggling, it's easier to go to a document or to like a board where you wrote your values and your vision and your mission, and then keep your momentum. I'm gonna give you an example. February of last year, Shara and I decided to write the plan for 2022, 2023. Why February? Because that's our anniversary, our month of anniversary. So we decided to do like a family plan beginning March 1st. We got married in February. So we wrote a plan for 12 months. We thought it was going to be impossible. So within 9 months of this year, we were able to fulfill what we wrote on that plan that was going to take us 12 months. And I think, well, welcome to Puerto Rico. I think I have like a fire around. Well, that happens back home too in Indiana. It's not just here. So the thing, we were able to like do all the things we wrote in there in 9 months and even some more, right? Because we've been able to move along. But you know what we did? Exactly what we're sharing with you. Him and I sat down and we said, okay, let's look at what are the things of this year that we want to be able to accomplish this year. We do have one that is so big that we won't think we'll be able to accomplish it, but then we also have a smaller one. So for now's grace, just take all of your ideas. If you like writing, if you like dancing, if you like drawing, if you would like to learn how to market, create websites, like anything that you want to do, just write it. And then there's another thing that we share on our second session, and I also share it by email, which is after you write all of the words in a document, then divide them into 3 groups. Why 3 groups? Because it's going to be easier just to focus at least on 3 areas instead of a whole bunch of areas. So put all the words that are kind of like that sound good together, or that they will make like a good recipe together. Put those together, but into 3 groups. And you'll see that after you listen to Joshua's presentation last session, it will make really a lot of sense putting the words like that, and then that will help you then start writing like what would be a vision, and what are those objectives, what are really the things that we want to work on. I think Rebecca wrote some notes here. Okay, I see Maddie was saying she's still working on it. For sure, that's good, Maddie. And it might take some time, okay? So do not get frustrated if it takes you more than 1 month or more than 2 months. Just start getting it out of your brain. There's something else that I recommend. Write it in a place where you can see it and continue writing on it. Not in a place where you're going to close it and put it into a drawer. It's very important to be active because I know there's men in our call, but it's like giving birth. And I know some of you have not given birth, but you are doing something so new. So leave it in a place that is open where you can go back and continue writing. Continue taking notes of all the ideas that are in you.
Yeah.
There was something else. Let me see. I think Rebecca was sharing. I think I need to watch the videos. Yes. Very good, Rebecca. Continue writing the words. And it's okay to go back to the video and watch it. We really believe it was like a mastermind class in a couple of maybe 20 minutes, 30 minutes that Josh Hamstra presented to all of us. And like I said, it's a YouTube video, so we're not gonna take it down. You can go and rewatch it and tune in what you wanna do.
Yeah, it's really good. If you haven't seen it, you should watch it. I've seen it many times. Him do this presentation. It's hard to take in just one sitting.
I know Lucinda is with her kiddos, but she's typing, so I'm gonna read it. She's saying, I'm trying to get a business going to serve moms and families, a cleaning business to help families. I want to be in the business to help moms, whether it be, what is that word? I can't see, help me here. Whether it be supplying a job for a mom or helping a family. I want to also open a nanny service online app, nannies on the go. So in general, a large company with these extended businesses that service moms. I basically want to help others with the issues I have wished was different for myself in my life. We hear you, Lucinda.
That's awesome. You know what?
Yes.
Because
yes.
some of the best businesses are grown from somebody that sees a need that's not being fulfilled. So just since you've experienced that, that's where some of the best business ideas ever come up, because that means that need really exists and somebody needs to fulfill the need. So it's incredible. I mean, I love that you've got all these ideas and that you're just going after them. It's incredible. And that's why we're doing this. So that being said, we do want to talk about, okay, everybody on this call is an entrepreneur. You guys are all here because you have small businesses, or you're starting a business, or you have a W-2 job, or you're working for a company, but you're on the side, you got a side gig going, or you're doing, this is why we're here, because we all want to create wealth. We all want to grow. We don't want to be in the same position next year that we are today. So this is why we wanted to talk about the tax part of this, because after tonight, I want you to start thinking of taxes, like get excited about it. And I know that sounds crazy, but here's the thing. If you plan correctly and you plan your tax situations with the way you structure what you invest in, what you're planning on doing, how you keep track of your records throughout the year, you will make more, you will have more money. I promise you, if you do these things, you will have more money at the end of next year when you go to do your taxes, because you'll pay less taxes. So right now, the average American is paying between 30 and 40% in taxes every year. Think about that. So you have a job that you make $100,000, you're taking home $60,000 to maybe $70,000 if you're lucky. You're giving away $30,000. So think it. So then you break that down into like weeks worth of work. You're working for free. So we have to start thinking, if you're an entrepreneur, you're wanting to make money. So we have to think about, okay, we need to utilize every avenue we have to increase our wealth when it comes to our tax planning. And I know it's not a fun, sexy thing, taxes, but it's really this is what will set you apart from just getting by into creating wealth and growing. Because if you could you imagine next year if you could save just 15%? Just think about this. Let's just say you made $100,000 between your spouse and everybody, and you were able to save 15% of that 30% that you gave away. So you would have an extra $15,000 at that end of the year that you would either have to invest in something, into another house, or in your business or anything. That's a lot of money. So if you compound that over the next few years, and what will happen as you guys begin to grow your business, you're going to make more money. Like Deanna was saying at the very beginning of this, you're going to start making more money every year. And then you're going to get to a place where you're going to be like, oh my gosh, we got to slow down because we're giving away half of everything we make. It's not worth doing this anymore. That is like the fear of like everybody when they start making more money. You hear it all the time. They're like, doesn't do any good to work all this overtime because I got to, I get a paycheck and they take half my paycheck. Well, that's where the tax planning part of this comes into play. It really makes a difference. So basic things is in the middle of the year, and this is something you guys could, you could keep up with. If you guys have a W-2 job right now, this is a simple thing that you could do to put more money in your pocket every week or every month, however you're paid, if you're weekly, monthly, or whatever. So when you guys sign your little W-4 form, when you start a new job, or if you don't remember doing this, every company that you sign a W-4 form, and basically that is a form that's saying, I want to claim so many exemptions for my family. They'll say click 1 if you're single, 2 if you have 1 dependent, 3. That's telling your employer, I want you to hold number 1. Now it's kind of backwards what you think. So just hold 1 exemption. So that means I want you to hold the most amount of money out of my check for taxes, for federal taxes. I'm not confident enough that next year I'll have enough money to pay my taxes and I don't want to pay anything. So that's number 1, is like, I'm totally afraid that I'm not going to have enough money.
Okay.
You could go up to 14 exemptions. So number 14 is like, I'm not going to ever pay taxes. I got too many children. I got too many ducks and I don't make any money. So I need to keep as much money as possible. So the reason why I bring this up, because we talk with a lot of people that they feel like their paycheck's getting like, just every time they get a paycheck, it's getting taken away in taxes. I just had a conversation with a couple that the wife actually had to get a second job to cover the taxes that was being withheld from my friend's W-2. Now think about this. His wife had to go get a part-time job because he started making more money at a job with a W-2, but they're taking so much taxes out, he wasn't able to pay all of his bills. That sounds messed up, right? Like, what's the point of making more money if you have to get a second job just to keep the same? So a simple fix that we were able to incorporate is we were able to look at what their projected tax liability at the end of the year was going to be. And it's real easy to see. You could look right now what you've made for the year and divide out by 12 months where you are at and what the next 2 months are being. You could see, all right, I'm at $60,000. Then you just go to then you just Google IRS tax tables 2022, and you'll see a person making $60,000 with a husband, filing jointly or single. Say your tax is $22,500. So if you look on your W-2 form or you look on your paycheck and you see where it says your federal taxes withheld, if it says you've already withheld, $22,000 for the year, well, you've already paid more taxes than you're going to withhold. So that means the rest of the year you could pay 0 federal taxes and you will still not owe anything. So and you should do this like in probably June is a good time to do this, is really look at what you've made and see where you're at and just calculate based in it's an approximate, but it works out pretty close every time. And then you could go, at any time, you could go to your HR department, employer, and say, I want to change my withholdings. So if you got to that point and you feel like, all right, I've made enough, I've saved enough taxes already and paid enough taxes, you could go to the employer and say, I want to change my exemptions up to 11 or 12. And what will happen then is that less federal taxes will be taken out of your check every week for the rest of the year.
Now, something is that means that you're gonna have more cash every month, right? Because now you're not being withheld taxes, federal taxes. However, it does mean that you might not get a check. Like if you're one of those persons that were trying to file your taxes because then you'll get a check back, then you might not get that cash, right? Because what it's happening is that instead of you giving the cash to the government and waiting until you submit your tax return for you to get money back, what it's happening is that you're only paying them within the year, whatever it's needed to cover that year. Meaning, for example, going back to Chad's example, maybe 6 months, you've covered already your entire year's worth of taxes. So now your monthly income will increase instead of you getting the cash, almost a year after it was withheld. So it is a very good opportunity because then you have more cash within that month to pay your expenses, or maybe it might be that you can start saving those and investing that money into a new business idea that will generate later on more money, instead of waiting until whenever you submit your tax return to get the money back from the government.
So that's one idea. So the next thing, since you guys are entrepreneurs and you guys have small businesses, when you file your tax return, you're going to file a Schedule C. So that's just if you're familiar with it, you're going to file that on your tax return. That's going to say what your business is, whether it's sewing or you've got a real estate business or you're got a marketing business. You're going to file that on your tax return. Now, this is where we talk about planning, because you want to start writing today. Start writing down all the things that you pay that go towards your business. And I mean everything. You use your cell phone, you use your home office, you buy paper at Staples. You've got to start really thinking about all the things that you use day in, day out you drive your car back and forth to a photo shoot or something like that. Those are mileage. There's all these things, because what you're doing is you're preparing to not pay as much tax, because we want to reduce our tax liability as legally, obviously, which the government allows a lot. If you really take the time to prepare, you could reduce your taxes a lot of times close to zero if you know how to do it, which is hard to believe. People don't see it, but it really does. It really happens.
And because you are a small business, there's more opportunities for you to include expenses and reduce your income, meaning your tax liability. So for example, Chad just mentioned having an office. Well, if you have income through a W-2, you cannot tax or include as an expense your office, your home office. But if you have a small business, you can. So there's a lot of different expenses that you can include on your Schedule C for United States, right, as an expense. So what that will do is that, right, you have your income minus all of those expenses, the taxes that you're going to be paying, they're less. So a couple of things Chad mentioned, take notes. With those notes, try to find the receipts. Maybe you were using your bank statement. Maybe you decided to use just one account for your business. go get all of those receipts and label them. Maybe an easy way that could be maybe getting an envelope. It could be getting a folder where you can say, well, these are my supplies receipts, right? Because like I said before, we do want to report that income. It's not bad. It's actually really good because 2 years down the road, you want to purchase a property, an investment property, you need those 2 years worth of income on your tax return to be able to go to a bank and request a loan. And I know I just share a whole bunch of information right now, but we're preparing you for the best outcome of your business, even for your future.
For the future, because the bank, especially being a small business or self-employed, obviously the banks, when you want to get a loan, they like to see W-2 employees. They just do. There's a preferred. But as a self-employed person, your own business, if you could show your financial statement, and you could show like a tax return that shows income is gold. That's just like having a W-2.
Mhm.
I know everybody's like, I want to do things cash, and I want to save the taxes, but let me tell you, something's coming in 2023. If you haven't already heard this, it was supposed to be coming this year, but the tax law in 2023 is changing that. If you guys receive money through Zelle, PayPal, Venmo, starting 2023, gross receipts. So that's if you get over $600 sent to you through one of those things. I mean, 10 people send you $5 or whatever, you're going to get a 1099-K, and you're going to have to report that. And and this is crazy, this is how you have to think about this. Even if you're going to stay in an Airbnb with your brother and sister, and everybody's Venmos you $600 a piece because it's expensive, you still have to report that on there, and you have to explain to the government that that is not income.
Mhm.
So that's coming in 2023. So this is why we're saying for people that are doing gig stuff, especially for self-employed people, because a lot of people want to pay through Zelle, Venmo, and all these things. They're required by the IRS starting next year the banks are going to report that directly to the IRS, and you're going to get a 1099 from Zelle it'll probably be one 1099 saying you got, $7,000 in Zelle payments for the year or something. And it's going to be up to you to explain what that $7,000 was. And think about this. I mean, it's genius on the government's part because they know most people aren't going to be able to explain that. So they're just going to pay the taxes on the $7,000. Why the people that are smart and are doing due diligence and working now, they'll be able to explain it all away. So there won't be tax liability. But most people don't even know this is, I don't even know if you guys even knew this was happening, but it was supposed to go in place this year, but 2 days ago, the IRS just changed that to hold it off for one more year because so many banks were complaining that they weren't going to be able to get it set up by then.
Lucinda did ask a question, up to how much can I use for deductions without receipts? So for you to be able to document an expense, you need the receipt. And then for mileage, what we recommend is that you can use the federal mileage or cost per mileage, which is 52 cents per mile. So let's say you have to drive somewhere to provide a service, and Chad mentioned it before. Let's say you're gonna go and do a photo shoot. So those miles from and to, you can expense it. With a W-2 job, when you go to your job, you cannot expense that. But when you have your own business, now you can expense it, and it's 52 cents per mile. That's like an easier calculation when you just do per mile. Well, I'm gonna go to Dawn's house because I'm gonna be working with her. I'm not your employee, I'm working as a professional service, then I can include those miles. And there's a lot of different other types of expenses that you can include. We mentioned your home office, a portion of your telephone, a part of the depreciation, the supplies that you purchase, right? So materials, equipment that you were using, computer, laptops, maybe you have to use your cell phone, right? Or like a camera to take pictures and post it to be able to market your products. So there's a lot of things that when you were doing it as a hobby, right, you didn't have to use it, but now you can use it for your tax return. And again, it will be a good benefit for the future, because now you're documenting your income to the government, right? And then it also, another thing that we were talking about, receipts, right? Get your receipts, start getting them in order, like those that are travel, you know, if it's supplies, put them together. We, you know, a system that is pretty easy to use is Sheets from Gmail. So if you have a Gmail account, Gmail allows you to use Sheets. There's also other types of, I can send you, even Google has like financial statements that are very easy. Going back, Lucinda, how you were asking about QuickBooks. So you do have to pay QuickBooks, right? But you are small. So like something that you can use is actually going to Google Sheets and you Google financial statements, and they have preset like transactions. If you just put your transactions, they will code it for you and they will give you financial statements completely free. And I'm mentioning that because that's like one of my, like my field is accounting. And
But QuickBooks is good too.
yeah, if you want
If-
to start somewhere, you don't have to pay money. You can use Google Sheets. It's super easy, very friendly. You can create your budgets there as well. Maybe as you grow, then at some point you could get QuickBooks. Surely QuickBooks is wonderful and it's a helpful, yes, because so for example, Shirley uses an app, right, Shirley, that tracks your mileage because she does have to, Shirley's a photographer, so she has to, you know, drive a lot. So QuickBooks has an app that connects it to the accounting software. So for her, it has really worked using it, using QuickBooks as a system. Airbnbs, those of you that do like Airbnb, so you rent a space, yes, you want to be able to expense every equipment. For example, what we do, any item under 1,000, we expense.
Mhm.
So we bought a sofa, that sofa cost $999, we expense the sofa. Especially because on short-term rentals, the furniture is going to, you know, you're gonna have to buy new one. Maybe every 2 years, every 3 years. So it's okay for you to expense it. So our number is 1,000 or less, we expense it. If it's more than 1,000, then we depreciate it on your tax return.
Right.
So yeah, any question? Go ahead, Joe. I saw you. I'm like, yep.
I don't understand like, what, can you explain that? I understand it's like keeping the receipt as an expense. Can you tell me what you mean by the latter?
The depreciation, sure.
Yeah, so everything in your house wears down, right? Your roof wears down, the furnace breaks over time. So the government allows you to depreciate. And if you've done your taxes before, you'll have like on Schedule E, you'll depreciate your rental property. And basically what it's saying is the government gives you 27 years to depreciate the life of your house. So basically they're saying it's going to wear down over 27 years. You're renting it out for business. So we're going to let you take off a certain percentage of that cost of the house every year till it's down to zero.
I'm gonna add another example, your vehicle. You can use your vehicle and then they'll give you a life of that vehicle, right? And they might say, well, your vehicle might last 10 years, and then depreciation is that they take the value of that asset, the house or the refrigerator, or it could be a vehicle, and then you use, and it's on your taxes will do the calculation, right? What they do is that they say, well, because it will last only 10 years, you can expense 1 year of those 10 every year. So if it costs you 10,000, the asset, right, the vehicle, then you can expense 1,000 every year until it goes to balance zero.
Hmm.
So that happens with items that the cost is called an asset, right? You didn't expense it because it costs more than 1,000. Maybe a refrigerator that costs $2,000. So instead of expensing it all in the first year, then you can depreciate that asset.
Yes.
Cameras, maybe it's a, you guys might have like a very fancy camera, right? For doing videotaping and all of that. It costs $5,000, $3,000. That type of equipment you can depreciate. And going back to the house,
Yeah.
that's more when you have an Airbnb house or like a house
So,
renting.
yeah, so depreciation is your friend. Like depreciation's like the seventh wonder of the world, kind of, because it's literally
For tax purposes.
for tax. This is what we're talking about, tax planning, because depreciation allows you to have something that you own, a car or a house, and they're letting you write the entire thing off over the life of the house. So basically the government's allowing you to take that off your taxes for the next 30 years that you own, or 27 years that you own that property, or 10 years that you own the car. They're saying, okay, since you're using this for a business, you can write that off and you could take that off your taxes. Now, another thing that depreciation does for those of you that make, say, total $150,000 and under with your spouse or you by yourself, if you have a rental property, and this is why we're so big about rental properties, is you could use that depreciation to offset your W-2 tax liability. So if you have a rental property, say it's $300,000 or whatever, and they allow you to depreciate, say, $17,000 a year on that, or whatever the number is, you could take that $17,000, and this is a little bit complicated, but it's basically, you could take that $17,000, say you owe $30,000 to the IRS for your $150,000 job, right? Well, you could take the $17,000 of the depreciation and use that towards reducing your income from the $150,000. You'd reduce it down minus the $17,000. So now you don't owe the IRS as much taxes on the 150. You might only owe on 127, whatever. Now that's how depreciation is complicated, I know, but it could reduce your taxes and put you in a lower tax bracket, which means you're going to pay less taxes.
Hey, I got another question for you, Chad.
Yeah.
When you were just talking about that in 2023, we're going to start being taxed for Zelle and PayPal and everything. We have some people that are going through a traveling nurses that's going to stay at our Airbnb for a couple months, but not pay through Airbnb. And he said, and that's why I asked for you guys for that lease, and he said that, he's like, we've done this before. We've just paid through Zelle or whatever. And I was like, well, that's what we have. We have Chase. That'd be the easiest thing, drops right in our account. So will we then be taxed for that?
Yeah, you're going to report that as income on your regular as rental income. That 29K, you're just going to put as under your rental.
Okay.
That's it. It's not going to change anything.
Okay.
Yeah, because Airbnb does send also 1099.
Yeah.
Right.
You
Okay,
might
that makes sense.
You might have one from Airbnb, or if you use VRBO, right? Each one, and then plus the one from Zelle.
Okay.
Good questions. Very good questions.
I have a question.
Yes.
My car is getting very sad. And I have to get a new one. Is there a way to run it through the business, even though I am not physically there?
She's saying the Airbnb business,
Yeah,
but we also don't have our Airbnb in an LLC yet, which we need your help with doing.
So you want to purchase a vehicle, but expense it as an Airbnb expense? Well, thing is that you can expense items that are related to that business, right? So then it's like, how would you connect Airbnb with owning a car?
In California.
that's my question to
That's
you.
gonna- That's
Well,
gonna,
could
well,
we, could we
you
do it
can
through the
audit it.
married life?
would you use
Um,
it for, is it married life for profit or non-for-profit?
It's a non-for-profit.
Well, then you won't, you don't need to
So
expense
then
it.
there's no like.
Right, there's no, right, that's what I was thinking too, as we were saying that, yeah. 'cause it's
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no
not-for-profit.
tax.
Okay.
Because the problem with you guys living in California and Airbnb in Indiana, if you get audited, the auditor is gonna say, so how did you drive back and forth from California? That's exactly.
How'd you
what
get this furniture here?
Yeah, so,
Holly Reed came and picked it up.
right, exactly.
Chad and Diana helped her out
The
too.
way
Just a
I
question.
expense mine is by mileage. Every time I go to see one of our properties, I calculate the number of mileage, and Shirley was sharing with me that we think it's 62 cents, but the system per mileage, right? So what I would recommend is look for federal mileage costs. And they would, you will see, I think she said it was 62 cents. So what I do, for example, Lucinda cleans our properties, one of the ladies that clean our property. And every time that she drives or I go to a property, those miles I can expense. And then what they are including within those 62 cents is not just the gas, but kind of like, the maintenance of the vehicle. They're including the gas, the maintenance of the vehicle, and something else. What else is within the 62 cents? Maintenance, gas,
It covers like maintenance, gas, oil changes, basically everything.
and
You-
the wear of the
Yeah,
vehicle.
you get to choose one or the other. I always just choose the mileage because it's the easiest thing to do. If not, you have to keep the receipts for everything you do. Mileage, you just keep a log book saying I drove
Mhm.
30 miles today, 20 miles next day. It's easier that way.
So then for vehicles, there's a lot of like regulations, Chrissy, around it. Some of them might be that you need to put the name of the business outside for it to be owned by the business. It has to be, so every time you see a vehicle and they wrap it around or they have logos, that's the reason. It's because they're expensing the vehicle 100% through their business, right?
Yeah.
So that was a very good question, Chrissy.
You want to hear
Very-
something crazy? This has nothing to do with any of this, but we just during this call had a booking for Airbnb, and it's somebody who lives in Costa Mesa, and that's the next town over from where we live, and they're going to stay at our house in Chesterton. Isn't that crazy?
That
That's
is crazy.
Chrissy just messaged him. He's like that. She's like, that's wild. We just moved here. He's like, good call moving here. It's like, yeah, like so they're gonna be there in January, early January. But cool. Thank you guys for that.
Pretty cool.
So good. So two different things from today, because you guys know that we like to split it in half and half almost. One, continue writing your ideas. And number two, prepare and plan for your taxes. Don't wait, because you might be able to find other expenses that you can include on your tax return.
Yeah, and reach out to us. If you have any questions on all
Yes.
this stuff, feel free to reach out to us about the tax, probably about the tax thing. You could reach out to me, probably more than Deanna.
Here's a question for you. Nothing to do with anything we talked about today. But since you are staying at an Airbnb that is part of like a apartment complex, have you actually talked with that owner and asked him like how has that been? Because it's not, he doesn't own the own complex, does he? Does he just like own that?
No, he's just like us, so
Yeah,
We haven't talked to them.
No,
about that.
but like, so when it's an apartment, it's basically the same as a house. Except that they have to, on this case, this property here, they have to pay HOA. And they have other types of monthly fees. But every complex have different rules. So for example, there's another complex here on this same shore where they can only rent short-term, no less than 5 days. So every complex might have their
Gotcha.
own rules. Some of them might be like, no, we cannot rent to short terms. Other ones might be, giving you stipulations. We stayed at another one, and I think the other one was only 7 days or more. They couldn't rent less than 7 days.
wow.
So if it's like, if you're thinking about purchasing or subleasing a place like this, is going over those stipulations for the entire condominium to make sure that they will allow to do short term, like the way you want to do it. Of course, it still will make money, right? Depending on how many, like the average of how much they're renting the place, the occupancy rate here.
Yeah,
But right now it looks like it's pretty good because it's, holidays, so everyone's like traveling, etc.
yeah.
Mhm.
I was wondering what that is, in Puerto Rico, like to get that another unit, and if like getting something like that, like an apartment and subleasing where we're not owning it, and what it would look like out of the country, because obviously we're 1,000 miles away from our Airbnb right now. So I'm like, what's it look like out of the country, especially if it's cheaper to rent, per month, and then it's a place that people are going to visit. So anyways, you guys being there got my mind
Very
going.
good.
I mean, it's almost more expensive. I mean, while
Is
we're
it?
down here, we're always looking around. They're not cheap. These places are not cheap here. And then HOA fees on some of these places, like a complex 2 doors down, it's like $500 a month. Condo fee and HOA and some other, we just saw this one because we're looking like, well, this would be great. By the time you figure it out, you could do better, which breaks my heart because I'm like, it'd be great to have a place, but you could do
Right.
better in Valparaiso. You
Wow.
can buy 2 for the price what you would pay for 1 here and actually rent it
Wow.
out at a higher occupancy, which is kind of crazy, but it just
Oh.
is.
Yeah.
Florida was another place, right? That was very good for renting on Airbnb. But now the prices went so high that it's practically waiting for those prices to come back and level out before we can go back and start purchasing again in Florida, right? A friend of ours saying that she had a phone call. She lives in Fort Lauderdale. Someone called her and said, hey, we'll buy your house for cash. And she said, that'll be amazing. So where would I go and live? And the guy was like, okay, I hear you. Thank you. Because right now, but Florida is another great place, they have so much shore on the south, east, west, both sides of the peninsula, right? So a lot of opportunity. And we always ask people, what do you have, right? Like, it might be a family member, it might be, a friend that can sublease to you, and then you can rent it on Airbnb.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
there's so many different opportunities.
That's a really good idea too.
Let me see what else. So, and one, talking about Airbnbs, most of you know that that's something that Chad and I have been doing. First time we did it, the question was, would anyone do an Airbnb on this place? And guess what? The answer was, yes, they will be. So thinking about Airbnb, you might be living in a small town. It might be, I don't think anyone would ever rent this place. You know what? We want to say, well, why not, right? Why not? Let's look at different alternatives, because what we've seen is that the Airbnb and short-term leasing, it is a great opportunity to increase cash, but at the same time, it doesn't involve so much income coming out of your pocket when you start. So we know we threw that out there, and we'll have more conversations about those opportunities, because again, you won't have to wait for 10 years to do some of these things that we're doing now. There's so many opportunities, like Grace might be just graduating from high school, but she might be able to get a property sooner than what she ever thinks, you know? So it's very cool. It's so cool.
Yeah, I know it's getting late and we threw a bunch of stuff out. Every time we start going, I think of more things I want to share. And she thinks of more things we want to share. And it's like, we only get this little section of time for a month, for a month. So we try to share as much as possible.
Yeah.
But we're, like we said, we're always here. You guys could reach out to us,
Mhm.
some individual things,
Yes,
for
sure.
definitely, like Joe, and you guys have questions about your taxes and all that kind of stuff.
If
Have you guys,
just let us know, send a text message, we can schedule a call and do a one-on-one with you, okay?
is there a Facebook page for this group?
We haven't created it. It's one of our thoughts. We were thinking about it. I just told
Well-
Chad, I think it was like a week ago, I think we should do like a Facebook,
Yeah.
a Facebook group. So.
Well, even as you were saying, like how things come to you, oftentimes like when things start coming to me for stuff, or like whether it's, Christ, whether it's the married life, whatever, I'll start just recording, and then I'll post those videos periodically on Instagram or TikTok or wherever. And so I was thinking, as stuff comes to you guys, you can make short reels to post on the page that have to do with, like taxes, or hey guys, here's a quick side hustle, maybe to get extra income in your pocket. This just came to mind, especially because you guys do, like you said, things just come to you, and just to share it. I appreciate your wisdom and insight. So I just love hearing from the Dieters.
Thank you.
Thank you. You just was another one. I'm like, so we'll do it.
We'll start a Facebook group.
Facebook
That's a
group.
great idea.
Mhm.
So that way
It'll
it'll
be
help
fun.
everybody.
It'll be fun. Yes,
Yes,
Grace.
Grace.
I can help you with social media if you would like help.
Yes. 'Cause
But
I'm
like
not
as
good
a
at it.
person coming straight out of high school, I know that my For You page is full of people explaining like the basics of taxes and things like that, because that's not something we learn in school. And those are things that are very like appealing to people my age. And so just like if you wanted to create reels or TikTok videos, like that's up to you, but I could help you organize that if you would like. And that will help you reach also a younger audience.
Look
on.
at you. Didn't she do
You're hired.
amazing?
You're hired.
That's
There
why
you go.
she is hired. She's gonna be working with us on the logo. She has the logo for Diversify. She's amazing, and she's getting paid. This is not just like help, this is her building her business. She's an entrepreneur, a designer. I love it. Thank you, Grace, for sure. Yes, ma'am. Anyone else would like? Let me see if there's any other. Oh, Rebecca said this has been so great. Thank you, Rebecca. Thank you. Wonderful, Lucinda, for sure. Let us just reach out to us. We can schedule a one-on-one like we said, and then reconvene the following month in January, last Tuesday of January. Sounds good? Hey team, you're amazing. Happy New Year.
Yes, we're almost there.
2023 will be amazing. 2023
Everybody's
will be,
doing it.
okay, babe, we got to do it too. 2023 will be an amazing year for sure. Have a good night.
All right, have a good night.
Take care.
Bye, guys.
Bye.